Good morning, children. Before starting, I want to tell you that while recording social studies video, the video at the end got abruptly cut. I did not cut it deliberately, but due to some problem, it cut abruptly. You might think that the video has stopped suddenly, but the problem was with me. It was nothing concerning the video. The problem was with me. Suddenly it got cut due to some problem. But the video is full. The video is full, so you can go through the video. Now, as far as English literature is concerned, we are going through the story, The Secret Garden. We know Mary had heard about a garden. Now the other day, she saw or she found the key. She did not exactly know whether the key belongs to the garden or not, door to the garden. She did not exactly know whether the key belonged to the door to the garden. But she had an expectation that this key might be of the door to the garden. So now, next day, again she saw the robin. The robin came to her and she saw the robin and she was telling the robin that now you have shown me the key, but show me the door also. Let us see what happened later. You showed me where the key was yesterday, she said. Show me the door today, but I don't believe you know. She says, I don't believe that you know where the key is. The robin flew from his swinging spray of ivy. Spray means branch, as I said that day. Ivy is a plant, creeper. It grows over trees. The robin flew from his swinging spray of ivy onto the top of the wall, and he opened his beak and sang a lovely trill. Trill means song of the bird. Long sound of the bird, that is known as a trill. This sound is generally vibrating sound, A little gust of wind rushed down the path, and it was stronger than usual. That wind was stronger than usual. It was strong enough to wave the branches of the trees, and wave means to swing, and sway the trailing ivy hanging from the wall. Trailing means hanging. Sway the trailing ivy hanging from the wall. Trailing means here means growing downwards, hanging in thin branches. Suddenly, the gust of wind swung aside some loose ivy. Swung aside. Swung aside means moved aside. Moved aside some loose ivy, and Mary saw something under it. The wind moved aside, moved some loose ivy, and Mary could see something. What was it? A round knob which had been covered by the leaves hanging over it. It was the knob of a door. Now she has seen the knob of a door also. When the loose branches of ivy swung aside and she could see a knob, she knew that it was knob of a door. She put her hands under the leaves and began to pull and push them aside. The ivy hung thickly like a loose and swinging curtain. Mary's heart began to thump. She was excited, and because she thought now she will be able to find out the garden, secret garden. Mary's heart began to thump, and her hands began to shake a little in her delight and excitement. She was happy also, and she was delighted, and she was excited also. The robin kept singing and twittering away and tilting his head on one side, as if he were as excited as she was. The robin was singing as if The robin is also excited as Mary. What was this under her hands, which was square and made of iron? The robin was thinking. The robin was thinking, what was this under her hands, which was square and made of iron? It was the lock of the door, which had been closed for 10 years. She put her hand in her pocket, drew out the key, and found that it fitted the keyhole. She took out the key and put the key inside the keyhole. She found that the key fitted the keyhole. That means the key went smoothly inside the keyhole. She put the key in and turned it. It took 2 hands to do it, but it turned. Why it took 2 hands to do it? Because for the past 10 years or so, the door was locked. So it was quite tough, quite hard to turn the key. So it took 2 hands of her, and she was a small girl, so she didn't have that much strength also. So it took 2 hands to do it, but it turned. And then she took a long breath and looked behind her up the long walk to see if anyone was coming. She looked behind and tried to see if anyone was coming or not. No one was coming. No one ever did come, it seemed. And she took another long breath and held back the swinging curtain of ivy and pushed the door which opened slowly. She saw nobody was coming, and she held the ivy branches with one hand, and with the other she pushed the door, and the door opened slowly. Then she slipped through it. Slipped through it means she went inside it. She went inside it and shut it behind her. She went inside and shut the door behind her and stood with her back against it, looking about her and breathing quite fast with excitement and wonder and delight. Wonder means surprise. Again, let's read it. She shut the door behind her and stood with her back against it, looking about her means looking around her, left side, right side, front side, and breathing quite fast with excitement and wonder and delight. She was standing inside the secret garden. Now she realized with excitement that she was standing inside the secret garden. She had heard about the garden, but today actually she was standing inside the garden. Just imagine her excitement. Imagine her delight. It was the sweetest, most mysterious looking place anyone could imagine. The high walls which shut it in were covered with the stems of climbing roses, which were so thick that they were matted together. Matted together means stuck closely and thickly together. It was the sweetest, most mysterious looking place anyone could imagine. The high walls which shut it in, were covered with stems of climbing roses, which were so thick that they were matted together. Mary knew they were roses because she had seen a great many roses in India. Mary knew they were roses because she had seen a great many roses in India. Rose bushes covered the entire garden. Indeed, it was different from any other place she had ever seen in her life. How still it is. Still means no noise, no movement. Everything is still. No noise, no movement. Nothing is moving. How still it is, she whispered. How still. Then she waited a moment and listened to the stillness. Stillness means silence. quietness, silence. The robin, who had flown to his treetop, was silent too. The robin, the birds can fly, so the robin, what it did, it flew to the treetop. But the robin was also very silent. He did not even flutter his wings. He sat without stirring. Stirring means moving. And looked to Mary. No wonder it is still, she whispered again. I am the first person who has spoken in here for 10 years. She moved away from the door, stepping softly as if she were afraid of waking someone up. She was she was walking so slowly, so carefully. It looked as if she was afraid, or she was afraid that somebody will wake up. It seemed as if somebody was sleeping and she did not want to wake up that person. She was moving so lightly, so softly. She was glad that there was grass under her feet and that her steps made no sounds. The sun was shining inside the four walls, and the high blue sky over it seemed softer and more brilliant than it was anywhere else. The robin flew down from his treetop and hopped about or flew after her from one bush to another. Mary was moving from one bush to another. The robin flew down from the treetop and moved along with her from one bush to another. He chirped a good deal and had a very busy air, as if showing her things. It was looking as if the robin is showing her the things inside the garden. Everything was strange and silent, and she seemed to be hundreds of miles away from anyone, but she did not feel lonely at all. So nice story. So ultimately, she entered the garden and she was so happy, so excited, so delighted to be inside the garden. And it seemed that everything was very still. And it also seemed that nobody had stepped inside the garden for about 10 years. She was the first person to enter the garden. So this is all about the story, The Secret Garden. We'll do the question answers in the next class. Okay. Thank you very much.